Between 1978 and 1991, the city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin was home to one of the most disturbing killers in American history. His name was Jeffrey Dahmer. By the time police finally caught him, Dahmer had murdered 17 young men and boys. His crimes? Not just murder, but dismemberment, necrophilia, and even cannibalism. This is the story of a man who appeared ordinary, even polite, but was hiding one of the darkest secrets the world has ever known. This is the story of Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee Cannibal. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960, in Milwaukee. From a young age, Dahmer was different. His father, Lionel Dahmer, was a chemist. His mother, Joyce, struggled with mental health issues. Their home was filled with tension, arguments, and instability. By age 4, Dahmer developed a strange fascination: dead animals. He collected bones and preserved roadkill, fascinated by what lay beneath the skin. Neighbors thought he was just a quiet boy, but his obsession was growing. At school, Jeffrey was shy and withdrawn. By his teenage years, he had already begun drinking heavily. He hid his loneliness behind alcohol, and his violent fantasies began to take shape. At 18, Dahmer committed his first murder. His victim, Stephen Hicks, a hitchhiker. Dahmer invited him home, drank with him, and when Hicks wanted to leave, Jeffrey struck him with a dumbbell, strangled him, and dismembered the body. It was the beginning of a nightmare that would last over a decade. After a brief break, Dahmer's killings resumed in the late 1980s. By then, he had perfected his method. He would visit gay bars and lure young men back to his apartment with promises of money, photographs, or just companionship. Once inside, Dahmer would drug them, strangle them, and then commit acts too horrifying to imagine. Inside his small apartment, he created a chamber of death. Police would later discover skulls stacked in a filing cabinet, jars filled with preserved organs, photographs of dismembered bodies, and in his refrigerator, human remains. He didn't just kill, he tried to control his victims. Some he attempted to turn into zombies by injecting acid into their skulls. When that failed, he killed them. One of his victims, 14-year-old Conorak Synthesomphony, managed to escape, drugged and bleeding. But when neighbors called the police, Dahmer convinced officers it was just a lover's quarrel. They escorted the boy back to Dahmer's apartment. Hours later, the boy was dead. Time after time, Dahmer slipped through the cracks of the system. His polite, calm manner convinced people he was harmless. But inside his walls, horror continued. July 22, 1991. It was the night Jeffrey Dahmer's secret finally came out. A man named Tracy Edwards managed to escape from Dahmer's apartment. Handcuffed and terrified, he ran through the streets and waved down police officers. When officers followed him back to Dahmer's apartment, they made a discovery that shocked even veteran detectives. Photographs of mutilated bodies, human heads in the freezer, barrels filled with acid. It was a house of horrors, right in the middle of an ordinary apartment building. Jeffrey Dahmer was arrested, and the world would never forget his name. In court, Dahmer admitted everything. He spoke openly about his crimes, often with chilling calmness. Families of victims wept, screamed, and demanded justice. Some broke down in court, unable to understand how such evil could exist. In 1992, Dahmer was sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms in prison, 957 years. He would never walk free again. But prison wasn't the end. On November 28, 1994, Jeffrey Dahmer was beaten to death by another inmate. His reign of terror was over. Yet his crimes, his psychology, and his name continue to haunt America. He has become a symbol of the darkness that can hide behind the most ordinary face. Jeffrey Dahmer lived in plain sight. A neighbor, a customer at the store, just another face in the crowd. But behind closed doors, he was something else entirely. His story reminds us of the fragility of trust, and the darkness that sometimes walks among us. This was the story of Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee Cannibal. Thank you for watching The Last Witness. If you found this story haunting, subscribe for more untold cases. Because sometimes the scariest monsters are real.